Hello everyone and welcome back guys to round 10 of our F1 2020 McLaren driver career mode, where today we're here back ready for the French Grand Prix. Now obviously if you guys missed out on the last video that went live, it must have been last week now, from Canada, then I would definitely recommend going back and checking that out. A brilliant three-way scrap between myself, our teammate Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton for the race victory. It really was one of those ones where it came right down to the wire. So yeah, like I said, if you missed out on that video, go back and check it out. A big thank you for the continued support on the channel though as we head into 2021. I put a community post out a couple of days ago saying that at the moment I'm practicing for the Daytona 24 this weekend, so content is going to be slightly limited. The aim is obviously to have this video out today, then I'm planning on having a My Team video out Friday, F2 Saturday and Sunday as well. But yeah, then hopefully as we sort of get back into Tuesday next week, content should try and continue pretty much daily once again. So yeah, that's why obviously we didn't have a video yesterday. It's highly unlikely we're going to get a video out tomorrow as well. The race is on Saturday, so I'm going to be dropping a couple of links just on the socials as well, obviously for those of you guys that are interested on seeing how I get on. But yeah, if you are new around here as well though and you do go on to enjoy, make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed. We're trying to hit 15,000 subs at the moment on the channel, so if you could help us get one step closer to that, it would be greatly appreciated. About 60% of you that watch these videos aren't subscribed, so if you aren't subscribed already, yeah, it would really mean a lot if you do get yourself subbed to the channel, as well as obviously clicking the notification bell as well, obviously, so you don't miss out on any future uploads. But yeah, heading into this weekend though, obviously there will be spoilers in just a moment. So in terms of the championship, 5 points, the gap between myself and Lando Norris there, as Hamilton now 22 points back in this Drivers' World Championship. Bottas still in 4th, only ahead of Sergio Perez by 11 points there. So the top 5, yeah, there's a bit of a gap opening up between the top 3 and Valtteri Bottas in P4. They're obviously the reigning world champion, but I'm sure he'll come back very strong in the second half of the season there. We're still top of the Constructors, ahead of Mercedes there, and Racing Point in 3rd, just ahead of Red Bull and Ferrari there, as there's a very big battle going on for P3 in the Constructors' Championship. But performance-wise, though, heading into this weekend, Mercedes, I don't think have brought another upgrade, but still the performance looking incredibly close. As you can just see our string of performances recently. 3 second places in a row there. 5 second places in the first 9 Grand Prix of the year. Can we finally get our 3rd win on the board this weekend? Let's find out as we head to the French Grand Prix. So here we are then, ready for the French Grand Prix qualifying session. As I've often said, I do quite like the French Grand Prix circuit to race around on the Formula 1 games. I completely appreciate the fact that it's an awful track in the real world of Formula 1, but I really do find this place quite good fun to get a lap hooked up around. So hopefully today can be one of those days where I get that lap hooked up here. Free practice was quite good despite limited dry running. It was a lot of wet sessions over the course of the early stages of the weekend. But let's just see, yeah, if we can try and put the car on pole position then. Not particularly brave through the first couple of corners here, but hopefully, you know, we're running quite low aero, so the top end speed should hopefully be quite good as well there as we try to get the car hooked up through the first sector. Mercedes have often been the team to beat on a Saturday, as we so often find on the Formula 1 games, but maybe, just maybe, this weekend can go the way of McLaren here. Such a brilliant rivalry we've got going on at the moment in 2 very equal performing cars. Mercedes, yeah, like I said, tend to have a little bit more on a lot of Saturdays, but then you get to Sunday's race day, and we just seem to have a little bit more as a team as well. And we just seem to be able to get slightly quicker lap times in, lap after lap after lap. But so far this time around, though, Norris is currently up on provisional pole there. We're already down to 6th place there as we head in towards the final sector of the lap. They're really late on the brakes. Try to carry as much momentum as you can, open up the exit of the corner and use all of the curb in there. Through in towards the final couple of corners. Don't really want to get on that inside curb all too much, but we have got away with it this time around as we head in towards the final couple of turns there. Really take a lot of curb, keep it tidy, a bit messy through the final corner. Try to get a nice run, no wheel spin out the final turn. It hasn't been a particularly brilliant lap though in the end. Down towards the line. P6 on the grid. That was not what we needed at the end of qualifying there. But yeah, we definitely have got a bit more pace in the car for the race.
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who will be fronting the grid. Norris, Ricciardo and Sergio Perez. With qualifying complete, all that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
Well, safe to say I wasn't expecting that for a front row lockout this weekend there. Lando Norris, fair enough, on pole. Daniel Ricciardo in second place for Renault there. Both Renaults inside the top 5. I don't know what they've done. I mean, they've just taken all the sandbags off ready for their home Grand Prix there. But Ricciardo on the front row ahead of Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas there. There was a tenth of a second from second down to 7th in the end there. Hamilton down in 8th place on the grid ready for this Grand Prix as well there. Charles Leclerc in 7th there with Ocon up in P5. Stroll in 9th. Max Verstappen in 10th place there with Sebastian Vettel. Going to have some fresh tyres for the start of the Grand Prix, but a very, very weird and mixed up wonderful grid. Hopefully that will give us a crazy race. Let's dive in and find out.
Welcome along then to France, host of the world famous Tour de France. But we're not talking 2 wheels today, we're talking 4, in a country widely thought of as giving birth to the art of motor racing back in the late 1800s. We've come a long way since then, and you're about to find out how far. It's time for the French Grand Prix. A lap of Paul Ricard then consists of 15 corners and a total length of around 3.6 miles. Drivers will need to position their cars carefully on the exit of the flat-out turn 10, ready for the double apex right-hander at 11. Watch out for potential overtaking action at the end of the start-finish straight and into the heavy braking zone of turn 8. Anthony Davidson joins me again for the race today. Let's talk about Mr. Monaco. That was a great podium in the last race. So can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
There are never any guarantees in this business, but certainly the performance last time out would have boosted their confidence coming into this one.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Daniel Ricciardo has a clear view ahead from pole position. Sergio Perez lines up alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Bottas, Ocon, Mr. Monaco and Leclerc, Hamilton, Stroll, Verstappen and Sebastian Vettel. Norris, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Kvyat, Alexander Albon and Gasly, Magnussen, Grosjean, Kimi Raikkonen and George Russell, Giovinazzi and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out. Then let's see who can prevail today.
This is our engine supplier's home Grand Prix. Let's give them a race worth watching.
Well, as if this race weekend couldn't get any better for Renault, our teammate Lando Norris now has a grid penalty, so it is going to be Daniel Ricciardo who leads the way off the grid for this French Grand Prix then. 13 laps ahead of us. Tyre strategy should be fairly simple. Obviously, it's going to be a pretty quick one-stop race if we get no safety cars here. But yeah, Danny Ric for Renault, pole position for their home Grand Prix. This could be critical for those guys. It's critical for everyone. Sergio Perez has got a big chance to gain big points this weekend. Bottas has got a good opportunity to try and stop us from getting another win on the board. But starting from P5, it is going to be difficult. No matter what we can do there. It is really a step into the unknown this weekend. We have no idea how quick some of the teams are going to be. But let's dive in then. Ready for the French Grand Prix. Round 10 of the season. As always, we wait on those 5 red lights. Lights out, and away we go. Off to a not particularly great start there as Hamilton behind us gets off to a rocket ship launch down in towards the first corner. We'll have a lot of contact apparently with one of our title rivals there as he just completely tries to turn across us in towards the first corner. Luckily it was just tyre face to tyre face as Charles Leclerc trying to keep the nose up the inside there. As you can see, Bottas making big moves trying to get around Perez and Esteban Ocon there, as we've still got Charles Leclerc at the inside. We finally make the move work as Perez muscles the fin out on the exit onto the Mistral straight there. Bottas just about decides to tuck in to the slipstream as we head out onto the back straightaway, but that's been the perfect start for Daniel Ricciardo at the front of the field there, as everyone almost 3 wide between the Renault, the Mercedes and the Racing Point here, as Hamilton just going to have to sit back as Bottas going backwards. At the moment, Renault 1-2 in this Grand Prix there, so it's been the dream start for Renault there, as I think one of the Alpha Towers has been span around further back there. Hamilton tried to make a move on us on the yellow flags, but yeah, Daniel Ricciardo, pole in the lead. Esteban Ocon, I think, started this Grand Prix in 4th place and is up into 2nd as we head towards the end of lap 1. Where on earth has this pace been from Renault in the early stages of the season. And is it just going to be like a one-weekend thing? Or are we now seeing a new legitimate threat from another team in this championship? We've already got Mercedes and Sergio Perez battling it out towards the front of the field week in, week out. Could we have another team added to the mix? I feel like Bottas is really starting to struggle in this Grand Prix here. As you can see, we've just got so much better top-end speed than the Mercedes. They're up the inside towards the end of the Mistral straight there, and a nice, clean textbook move. Obviously, I say that, Bottas tries it around the outside through the next corner there, but he's certainly not got enough grip on the outside there. So we do now inherit P4 in this Grand Prix. Again, the Mercedes tries to keep his nose up the inside. We very, very aggressively slam the door on the exit of the corner there, and hopefully we're going to leave him to try and defend from his teammate there as we head down in towards the final couple of corners. But where has the Bottas gone from the end of last season there? Relentless, just winning Grand Prix after Grand Prix. Really hasn't had a strong start this year. There is Ocon and Ricciardo set new fastest laps of the Grand Prix here. We're pretty much on the money though. And obviously we did have to make that overtake that lap, as now hopefully we can try and hound down Sergio Perez. Always the overperformer in the midfield, but perhaps he's found his enemies today. Ocon and Ricciardo still 1-2. New fast lap of the Grand Prix. As we head on to lap 4, Bottas just goes fractions quicker than us though, as we head back down in towards the first turn. But Sergio Perez, as I've said it before and I'm sure to say it again, looking very, very quick in that racing point. We've got yellow flags out. I think that's Lando dropping to the wayside here. Yeah, our teammate Lando Norris out of the French Grand Prix there. So after a brilliant pole position yesterday by 0.6 of a second, a grid penalty before the races even began, and more reliability issues for our teammate, it's a good chance for us to pull out some points in the Drivers' World Championship, but not what we need as a team as we cross over the halfway stage of this season. Team 1 us in at the end of lap 5 then in this Grand Prix. Tyres don't feel bad, but I mean, if there's an opportunity for a bit of an undercut, it might be worth trying to get it on Sergio Perez and Esteban Ocon. I'm just looking at Ricciardo at the road, and he hasn't exactly romped away off the start of this Grand Prix. He had a really good lap 1, obviously, as everyone else behind him decided to duke it out for position, but he hasn't, pulled away since then. He has definitely got a couple of seconds, though, in the back pocket, which could prove critical as we head in towards the second half of this Grand Prix here. But again, we've got a good run now on Sergio Perez here. To the outside we head down the first half of the Mistral straight. Are we going to be able to find any sort of room? Have to give the Racing Point driver space. We're a bit deep on the exit of the corner there, but I think we have pulled off the move. And we're now up into the podium places of this French Grand Prix. Now, just the Renaults in front of us. Into the pits we head then at the end of this lap. You can see Ricciardo has dived it in as well. 39 miles an hour into the pit lane. When, oh when, will things start going right for us in this race? A critical blow, and such an easy mistake to make here on F1 2020. Are we going to get held up in the pit lane? 2.7. No, we don't, luckily. I think if anything, we've actually taken a bit of time out of Daniel Ricciardo there, as Perez is still going to come out just behind us there, but now we've got a 5-second penalty to try and deal with towards the end of this Grand Prix. So Renault's day might just have got even easier as we head back out of the pit lane here, avoid the bumps on the exit of the corner. I've actually managed to drop it off of the pit lane here once before in a league race. But yeah, not only now do we need to try and get up to Daniel Ricciardo, we need to try and pull a 5-second gap on him before the end of this Grand Prix. We have taken a bit of time out of him though through the pit stops, about a second. So I'm not going to say it's impossible, but yeah, we need to get our head down and focus. End of lap 6 then, you can see crossing over the halfway stage. The gap to Ricciardo is still coming down. We've taken about another 7/10 out of him over the course of that lap. We're back into P5 there, as we've just got 3 of the backmarker cars still out going for one more lap in this Grand Prix. Giovinazzi now leads the way, becomes the first man all Grand Prix to not be in a Renault car to lead this one, but we are still taking time out of Ricciardo. 7 laps to go, or 6.5 laps to go. This could still be doable. There we go, last 3 drivers into the pit lane, so this is now officially going to be a duel for the race lead. Once again, you can see we've got good traction out of the final corner here on Daniel Ricciardo. New fast lap of the Grand Prix. Surely he's now going to be feeling the pressure as we head back down in towards turn 1. Danny Rick isn't a man that often cracks under pressure in the world of Formula 1 though, so we'll wait and see what we can do. I know we've got a quick race car here. I mean, even now, if the race were to finish now, we'd be right on the cusp with the Mercedes there. So we have definitely got, you know, podium potential still in the car at the very least. But, you know, like I said at the start, I think we've had, what, 5 1-2s in the first 9 races of this season. We need a couple of wins on the board here, as now we've got a big run on Danny Rick, using all of our ERS, all the DRS, all the overtake, everything we've possibly got. To the outside we go, we're cleanly in front by the time we reach the braking zone there, and that's not what Renault need. But if Ricciardo can stick close, it's not over just yet for them. Coming on towards lap 10 though, we really do only pull out the time on the twisty bits over Daniel Ricciardo there. But you can see after about a lap and a half, the gap just under 2 seconds. Just jumps over the 2-second mark as we cross over the finish line there. So Danny Rick is doing enough at the moment, but it is going to be incredibly close as we head in towards the final stages of this Grand Prix. I think any mistake from either of us could prove critical here. Obviously, we've got a faster race car. We've had a faster race car all season long, all series long, really, I'll be honest. But Ricciardo, he's been quick all weekend. Let's see if he can do anything. 3 laps to go. The gap up to just under 2.5 seconds to Daniel behind us. So things, yeah, still pulling out. But yeah, we really need to nail these final few laps if we want this. 2 to go then. The gap up to about... Oh, it hasn't really gone on much there. Ricciardo's had a good run at the final corner. I think he's using a lot of his ERS at the final couple of turns as well there. So the gap only up to 2.5. At the moment, we aren't pulling out enough as we get a warning for track limits through turn 1. That's just how hard we're pushing. We seem to be able to find time in some places. And then Ricciardo, just in a couple of traction zones, really seems to be able to get it hooked up at the moment. But 2 to go here from the French Grand Prix. The gap now opens up to about 3 seconds there as we go purple through Sector 1. That's what we need. This is going to be close. Rounding the final corner then, ready to start the final lap of this French Grand Prix. Daniel Ricciardo, the gap has opened up by about another second on that lap. It's up to about 3.5 seconds here as we go even faster, as we always seem to find these medium tyres get quicker and quicker as you near the end of the Grand Prix there. But can we try and find the impossible, a 1.5 seconds we need on the final lap of this Grand Prix? It's completely given me 2020 Austria vibes of Lando Norris trying to close down the gap to Lewis Hamilton with his penalty here. But is it going to be enough at the end of the Grand Prix? We've really just got to try and take every risk we can if we want this. P2 is pretty safe in the back there as Perez has dropped a long way off towards the end of this Grand Prix. We need to use all the ERS though, all the fuel in the car there. You can see Ricciardo, he's using all of his as well down the straightaways, trying to lose as little as possible there. The gap opens up to 4 seconds as we try to get the traction down off the curb in there. 4.3, we're just watching it go up and up and up as Perez seems to have dropped behind Valtteri Bottas in this Grand Prix there with just a few corners to go here from Circuit Paul Ricard. Is it going to be an historic day for Renault? Whichever way it's going, it looks like Renault Power is going to win this French Grand Prix there, but just a few more corners to go, trying to keep it nice and tidy. Can we get any more out of the car there? Just use a little bit of our ERS. I think obviously Ricciardo is completely draining his battery as well there. As in towards the final corner we go. Can we get a nice tidy run through the final turn? Clip the apex, try and get the power down as best as possible there. A little bit of wheel spin at the final turn, down towards the line. I think it's going to be Ricciardo though who wins the French Grand Prix.
Okay, good job mate, really well done. That was a fantastic drive.
Another superb French Grand Prix comes to an end, and it's a thoroughly deserved victory. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
But they certainly stood out as a drive with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
Here come today's winning drivers, and what a race it was. This is a team that knows success very well in F1, and they're just itching for even more. Congratulations to the Renault team for their excellent win today. So, let's review the drivers' standings. Mr. Monaco increases their championship lead. Now, let's discuss, Ants. Who would you say is a contender for driver of the day?
I have to give it to Mr. Monaco. That was a commanding performance today. Very impressive indeed.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. McLaren continue to increase their gap at the top. Meanwhile, Renault move up the table with another strong performance this weekend. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. I can't wait to see what's next.
Well, there we are then, guys, the end of the French Grand Prix, and only the second time I've ever seen Renault even, I should say, win on F1 2020 there. It's the first time I've seen Ricciardo win a race for the French outfit there, as well as obviously Esteban Ocon, I think, back in Season 2 of the My Team Career Mode at the British Grand Prix as well there. But Daniel Ricciardo and Renault are race winners once again there, and I don't think they could have picked a better track for those guys to win it at. An interesting circuit to win at. It's not like Monaco, for example, where obviously it's all aero. This track really does test a lot of aspects of the car there, so maybe, just maybe, Renault are going to be championship threats in the second half of this season there. But it is Ricciardo who takes the race victory by just 0.7 of a second there, and what a difference 2 miles an hour can make at the end of a Grand Prix there. That is what has won the Australian the race here today. But that being said, he was incredibly quick all weekend, and, you know, he was keeping the gap under where he needed it to be towards the end of the race as well there. Valtteri Bottas gets a podium from third on the grid there. Perez, unfortunately, just misses out in the end. Only just holds on ahead of Hamilton for fourth place there when all is said and done. Hamilton fifth, Charles Leclerc sixth, Esteban Ocon a bit gutted, I'm sure. Obviously running as high as P2 early on in that race, but just fell down the order as some very, very quick cars were behind him there. Down in 7th there, just ahead of Max Verstappen. Stroll and Pierre Gasly, who rounds out the top 10 there. Sebastian Vettel, a very, very quiet day for him ahead of Alexander Albon there, and you can see then you got obviously all the backmarker cars, and Lando Norris, his second DNF of the year. When is our teammate going to get a bit more reliability luck later on in the championship there? But that means Constructors, or Drivers' Championship wise though, suddenly for us the gap opens up to 24 points at the top of the standings there. Hamilton now 31 behind, ahead of Valtteri Bottas there, as Perez slowly but surely getting his way up to the 100 mark as well. They're 23 clear of Daniel Ricciardo, who leapfrogs both Red Bulls and Charles Leclerc in his Ferrari as well. They're up to 73 points. Max Verstappen in 7th ahead of Charles Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel there. Gasly once again tied with Albon, but ahead of him on count back there in P10, with Ocon just 1 point behind the pair of them in 12th place there. And you can see the rest of the order: Stroll, Kvyat, and then of course the bottom 3 teams as well there. Constructors wise though, the gap's 62 points now at the top of the championship there, as Renault now move past Red Bull and Ferrari there. Who would have thought Red Bull and Ferrari will be down in 5th and 6th place at this stage of the World Championship there? Racing points still 11 ahead of Renault, but could they now be the third best team in Formula 1? Obviously a huge battle going on. 16 points separating those 4 teams. That is definitely going to be one to watch throughout the entirety of the season there. AlphaTauri very much in no man's land. 40 clear of the team behind him, 60 behind Ferrari, just in front as well there. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, do make sure you leave a like. Get yourself subscribed as well if you want to see more F1 2020 content on the channel. Are Renault now championship threats? We'll find out very, very soon when we return ready for the Austrian Grand Prix. You guys do not want to miss it. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.